So we go through cellular respiration. Glycolysis happens in the cytoplasm with the inputs that get it started, and then what comes out and where each of those goes. Some of the end products go to the next step. Our hydrogen taxis are going to carry those hydrogens to the electron transport chain, and the ATP the cell can use. Here we see that pyruvate that went to the next step becomes an input in the next step. We move into the mitochondria, to the matrix, and have our inputs. Remember, our taxi, our empty taxi, always picks up hydrogens. Those come off of the pyruvate and 2-coenzyme A that combined to make acetyl-CoA. Those carbons and oxygens and hydrogens all came off of that molecule. Remember, that started as glucose, so had carbons, hydrogens, and oxygens. Our taxi carries the hydrogens to the electron transport chain, and then that can be recycled and reused. And then we come into the Krebs cycle. Our output of acetyl-CoA from the prep reaction starts the cycle here. Carbon dioxide is released as a waste. Our hydrogen taxis, we have a new hydrogen taxi company here, brings our hydrogens. Remember, anytime we don't generate ATP magically, we generate that by recycling these molecules. When we release energy from ATP for the cell to use, we break it into ADP plus P. The energy we get from the process of glycolysis is the energy we use to build ATP by putting that phosphate back on. So those always go together. Our hydrogen taxis always go together, empty, full, broken. We repair them because we generate ATP in cellular respiration. In photosynthesis, we start on the membrane instead of finishing on the membrane, inside the chloroplast. We input solar energy. You are missing these. I circled it in the wrong color. It should be purple. Anytime we're going to end up with ATP, we have to start with ADP plus P. We are going to pick up some hydrogens in this process, split our water and release the oxygen as waste, and use those hydrogens. We're going to give those to our taxi cab to carry those hydrogens to the next step. And we start with ADP plus P, and in this step we generate the ATP that's going to drive our light-independent reactions. We need those ATPs and those hydrogens because we are going to take inorganic carbon dioxide and water, and we're going to build glucose. The hydrogens for the glucose come from the water. The carbons come from our carbon dioxide. That doesn't even enter into the process until we get into the light-independent reactions, or the Calvin cycle. It has 3 steps. Carbon dioxide fixation. We're going to fix our carbon dioxide by putting those hydrogens on. First we're going to fix it into a form that can accept those. So we're going to take our RuBP, and our fix is we're going to put RuBP and carbon dioxide together and get this first molecule of 3PG. That goes to the next step. Remember, reduction, gain of electrons. Those electrons, those are our hydrogens that came in on that hydrogen taxi cab. So here's our hydrogen taxi cab. It's going to drop off those hydrogens, become an empty cab. But when it drops them off to the 3PG and turns it into G3P. This is our precursor molecule that can now be converted to glucose, fructose, starch, cellulose, fatty acids, amino acid, for amino acid synthesis. We can use this. It's a very flexible molecule. So really it's the basis for our glucose. So carbon dioxide reduction. We add the hydrogens to our carbon dioxide. We get our glucose molecule from that, and a whole variety of other carbohydrates. And now we need to go and regenerate our RuBP so we can start this process all over. Remember, it's cyclical. That means our RuBP goes from here back up to here and then back down to here in this cycle. We need some, we're going to put energy in to regenerate that RuBP, meaning we'll break an ATP here. To build that molecule, we're going to have to put energy in, so we break the ATP. That ATP came from our first step, from our light reactions. And then we're going to use it to build our bigger glucose molecule, our glucose precursor molecule, and to regenerate our RuBP from that process. So when you're done, I don't know if I just cut and threw that away. You may have to add that. I'm not sure if I missed it.